Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Someone once said, where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart. What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentionally.
The role of a judge is to say what the law is, not what the law should be. I believe in judicial restraint. As your circuit court judge, I won't legislate from the bench or let personal opinions rewrite our statutes. I will apply the laws written by our representatives and intended by our Constitution. Consistency and the rule of law are the foundations of a fair court and key to maintaining public trust in our judicial system. I'm Christopher Candela, and this is my judicial philosophy. Vote Christopher Candela for 44th Circuit Court Judge.
Hello and welcome to the July 28th. We're at the last week of July. This is awful. This is Judicial Night as advertised, and our first guest, I did put updates on it, flip-flopped. Christina Like had a conflict on the 7 o'clock, so Christopher was kind enough to take that slot and switch with her so she could make it. So here we are. So we are here with Christopher Candela, candidate one of two conservative candidates for the circuit court position. There are 5 candidates, but we only deal with the conservative ones here, so Christopher is the first we're going to talk about. So welcome, Christopher. Thanks for coming back. You've been here once. Christina's been back here once. We just want to get one more last look because I know there's a lot of people that are still kind of on the fence or they're just voting now, so we're glad you're here. So tell us about yourself and tell us why we need to vote for you for judge.
Well, thanks for having me on the podcast again, Deb.
This is glad to have you.
Always one of my favorite podcasts to appear on. A big reason why I'm running for judge is because I want to remove politics from our judicial system. I want to see a courtroom here in Livingston County, and I want to see courts across our state and across our country have judges that are going to be focused on the rule of law, that aren't going to legislate from the bench, and are going to uphold and apply the Constitution and our statutes as written, and not act like legislators or policymakers.
That's good. Can you give an example of how that might have happened in the last recent years, maybe?
Well, we've seen a lot of it on the Supreme Court level. There's been a lot of shifts in the law with, especially like the juvenile lifer laws, right?
Okay.
And how it used to be that individuals who were 17 and under had to go through a special sentencing process when they committed first-degree murder.
Okay.
Now that age has been increased up to 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. And the Supreme Court, when they legislated from the bench, took a statute that plainly applied to only individuals under 18 and expanded that statute to apply to 19 and 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
You know, it's funny that you said that, because one of the, right now, every time the party talks about you or Christina as being conservative, you know, we sent out a flyer with both you and Christina on it as, you know, pick one kind of thing. We're getting, you know, bashed with the, you know, judges shouldn't be nonpartisan, you know, judges are nonpartisan, they don't belong in a party, the party doesn't belong in this. And it's my statement that people who yell partisan politics or parties don't belong in you know, nonpartisan races, that's a battle cry for someone that doesn't want you to know their politics. So tell me, like, you know, how do you, you know, when you say we want to keep politics out of it, at the same time, it's already being played, correct? I mean, really, do judges play along to their parties a lot of the time?
Well, I think
apparently these guys did. The Supreme Court one you were talking about did.
Exactly, and I think that's where it's important for voters to know what a candidate's political leanings are when deciding who they're going to elect as their next circuit court judge. That doesn't mean that politics are going to be the basis of decisions. What that means is you can get a philosophy or an idea of how that judge is going to perceive situations that come before their court, but and oftentimes this goes hand in hand with being a conservative candidate. We focus on applying the law as it's written. We're not interested in bringing political agendas and personal agendas into the courtroom. We believe that we apply the law. We're elected to apply the law as written by the legislature and follow the Constitution as it's written. And that if you want the law to change or you want to see something different happen, that's where you have to go to the polls and vote for different candidates for legislature.
Right.
That's why they're partisan candidates in that sense.
So there is a belief that, or at least there's evidence of Democrat judges more legislating from the bench, meaning that they're legislating from the bench, meaning that they're interpreting it through their own spin or their own political beliefs. And I'll give you the perfect example, COVID. All right, we remember the stories of the barber, of the restaurants, of the people getting arrested and the people getting thrown in jail, et cetera, et cetera. Wasn't Republican judges doing that. It wasn't Republican prosecutors, and it wasn't Republican sheriffs. It was all Democrats doing that. So anybody that thinks that this isn't, that nonpartisan means non-political is out of their mind. So here, Kelly Fountain. Hi, Kelly. It's wonderful, or it's funny how nothing is nonpartisan. Mount Pleasant has a whole leftist community in the city, and they wear Democrat candidates' T-shirts at meetings. Yet they are nonpartisan. Agreed. And my husband says this really, really well. The term nonpartisan race applies only to where it sits on the ballot. You don't click a Republican, like the Republican ticket, and catch a judge. You have to go to the nonpartisan section. Nowhere does it say that nonpartisan candidates don't have a political leaning, or that suddenly, if elected, all their politics go away. Now, they may not be really, really active with it, but it still have their tendencies. So, like I said, it was the Democrat judges that put everybody, that arrested everybody and put them in jail they didn't arrest them, but they upheld those arrests during COVID. That's not what we want. And so that, we Livingston County went nuts with that. So that's what happens when you don't pay attention to the political leanings of a judge. So anyway, Christopher, I'm spewing. Now I got to write down spew on Christina's hour too. So I'm balanced. But yes, it is what it is. So tell me what kind of things that you're looking forward to if elected. What kind of I don't know, changes. Maybe it's too soon to know changes because you're not there. But what would you like to see happen, or what would you like to bring with you there?
Yeah, so for me, it's important that we have a focus on public safety and a focus on our children in the community. And those are two things that, having been across the county and talked to voters in every township, knocking doors, a lot of complaints that I hear is that people think that there's not been, that the focus on public safety has been diminished and that children are not being prioritized in our court system. And that's exactly something that I want to address as a judge. As a prosecutor, I've seen the impact that crime has on our communities, and I've seen that interchange between family law and criminal law in domestic violence cases, child abuse cases, those sorts of things. And one thing that is a priority for me is ensuring that we are going to hold people accountable for the actions that they take. I've always said that it's important to be firm but fair. So holding people accountable, making sure that you're being fair in doing that, but also making sure that we're putting a priority on what's in the best interest of children in these cases as well, making sure that they're being well represented and their rights are being protected.
So what in your experience, can you write this down so I ask? I'm trying to be balanced between two candidates. What in your experience will help you become a judge, be a better judge?
So I've actually worked inside the circuit court for a circuit court judge, and in that role I handled all family law cases. So I'm very familiar with what the internal workings of the circuit court look like, what the day-to-day operations are of the circuit court judge and their staff, and I'm very familiar with the family law bench from that perspective. In that role I handled, I was a judicial law clerk, and what that means is we are essentially legal advisors to the judge. We conduct a lot of legal research, we make recommendations to the court on cases that are pending before them, and we draft a lot of judicial opinions. And so that gives me a very unique perspective as a candidate, having actually been inside and working hand in hand with a circuit court judge who handled those family law cases. And then as a prosecutor, I've done the trial work. I've been in the trenches inside the courtroom, from misdemeanor cases all the way up to your most serious criminal cases. I understand how the process works, the pressures that attorneys are under when they're in the courtroom handling jury trials. I'm very familiar with all of the pretrial litigation, your common motion practice, the rules of evidence, the court rules that govern are essentially the playbook for how things proceed in court. So those are all things that I've spent hours and hours and hours in the courtroom working with. As a prosecutor, I'm in the courtroom just about every day. And I also have the unique experience of being an appellate prosecutor as well. So I handle appeals cases all the way up to the Court of Appeals in the Michigan Supreme Court. And now appeals, what you're looking at is research, right? You're doing a lot of legal research, and you become an expert in legal research. And that's exactly what we expect of our judges, to be able to, one, know the law, but when they don't know the law, or as the law is developing, being able to go and do that research and learn the law and be competent in the law in a timely fashion. And that's something that I've been doing my entire career.
Okay, and you're in court a lot. You're in court a great deal then. So that puts your court experience. My husband was a civil attorney for a long time. He went to court once in a while. But as a prosecutor, you're there a lot, correct?
That's correct. Prosecutors are in the courtroom just about every day.
Okay. Yep. All right. So your representation, I guess, then as a prosecutor, is you represent the people of Michigan. In a prosecutor, you'd be prosecuting against criminals or et cetera, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So
yes.
You represent the people. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So there's a question here. Where can we find a complete list of every candidate who will be on the ballot? That's a good question, Susie. And because this is a primary, there's very few races that we're even involved in. The school boards aren't until November, and the bigger races aren't until November. Most of the stuff now. So if you'll tell me, where you're from right now, I think the only countywide is this judicial race. It'll be, and we're recommending Christopher or Christina, who will be on right after Christopher. So stick around and hear from her too. So and then you can make an informed decision. So, but depends on. I know we got a race. There's a primary in Howell Township we have not endorsed in. There's a primary in Genoa we have endorsed in. So that's really all there is. So, you know, unless you're in Genoa or Howell Township, the only countywide is this one. So we will be posting and emailing and mailing a complete list for the general, like sometime in October. So thanks for asking that question. Appreciate that. So anyway, go ahead, Christopher. So let's see. Hold on. All right, I'm having troubles here. Hold on. So I'm just going to say that this will. This is a Republican, and we are treating both our Republican candidates with respect. So any negative comments, you're just going to be banned and deleted. So we're not going there. Each candidate will get to express his or her views, and so we're not taking setup comments. We're not taking any of those gotcha questions. It's just let's let them talk. You make your decisions. We're not telling you who to vote for. You can make that up, okay? Deerfield Township, thank you, Susie, for that response. You have a judge. You have one vote. That's judge. That's either this gentleman or the lady afterwards, and you can decide after you've seen both of them, okay? There's 5 of them, but it's either Candela or Like if you're looking for the conservatives, okay? They're the only 2 conservatives. So, anyway, so just let you know that we will not. We're not doing those negative questions. I'm not saying we've had any. I'm just saying we're not going there. So just anybody that's thinking about setting up, I won't do it to Christopher. I won't do it to Christina. They're both good, solid Republicans, and we're not going there. So anyway, Christopher, back to this. So tell us, give me a couple. I mean, other than what you said, if you can, give me a couple items that make a good judge versus not a good judge.
Well, I always say that the 3 things, if you have to pick 3 things that you want to look for in a judge when making a decision, I always say that you're looking for quality experience, judicial temperament, and judicial philosophy. Those are kind of the 3 key things that every judge needs to have in order to be a good judge, a successful judge. And so I say quality experience because not all experience is the same.
Right.
So looking at what the candidate has done in their career, what responsibilities they've had to shoulder, what decisions they've been trusted to make, those are the types of things that you want to look for in a judicial candidate. Judicial temperament is probably the most important factor. Having a judge on the bench who's going to be calm, level-headed, who's going to treat every litigant with decency and respect. And that goes for whether or not they're, represented by an attorney, representing themselves, regardless of the facts in front of you. Circuit court judges have to preside over some of the most heinous facts that come before the court system, and you still have to treat everybody in the courtroom with that same level of fairness and respect.
Agreed. We've had one judge removed totally because of, she did some misdeeds, but in the end, I think Teresa Brennan wasn't removed. Her misdeeds was the justification for the removal, but the real reason is she just wasn't nice to people. She was very mean to people. You make enemies when you do that. So I get it. And then we've got another one that had all the divorce. We've talked about her on this podcast, and her temperament is awful, and so her docket just got shook up, and it's because she just had all the complaints. So I can see what you mean about temperament. That's important.
Being a circuit court judge is a very it's an influential position. You have a lot of power to make decisions, and those decisions have impacts that ripple out into our entire community and affect our families, our schools, our businesses, and the safety of our community as a whole. And so you want a candidate who has a proven track record of not letting that sort of power and authority go to their head. You want somebody who's going to, not forget where they're from, be an everyday person, even though they're elected as your judge. They're still a member of this community, and just like everybody else in the community. And then judicial philosophy, which is always an important factor. And this is where you get the distinction between conservative and liberal candidates, is in their judicial philosophy and how they see the law. and I've, on my website and numerous occasions, I've said that my judicial philosophy is applying the law as written. Right? I don't believe that judges are meant to legislate from the bench. That is the role of the legislature. And so, in other words, a judge is meant to say what the law is, not what the law should be.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. We've got a lot of rah-rah Christopher's statements over here that we're probably not going to be posting, but I will post these kind of things here. Greg O'Neill sums it up. Both of you are great candidates. We need and will support either one of you that wins. Greg understands the assignment, people. So we have two candidates, so we're going to go from there. All right, so that's the difference between a good judge versus a not good judge. What else can you kind of tell us about either you as a candidate or what you're looking to do, or where you're, what changes you will make, or any of that stuff? Just free talk now.
Yeah, so a big focus for me on day one, getting into the position, is going to be diving right into the existing docket. There are cases that are pending in the court right now, and whoever wins this election is going to inherit that docket. And that docket is going to include a litany of matters from very serious criminal cases, including homicide, to your family law cases, which are equally as important. And my intention is from day one to start looking at that docket and making myself familiar with those cases, the facts of those cases, so that I can start bringing those cases up for hearing and making decisions on them and moving those cases through our system efficiently and timely.
Awesome. Well, and something else that I know about Livingston County courts is, I don't know if all courts do this. Well, you could probably answer this. Do all courts, or do other courts separate the dockets by the judge? In other words, we have judges that have 95% of the divorces with kids. We have other judges that do divorces without kids. We have other judges that do criminal, most of the criminal. We have other, that do most of the civil. And that's the way Livingston County does that. I know that, so when I hear, and I think this is the way Livingston County, do other counties do it that way too, or just Livingston? Or, I know it was done some time ago, and I know Judge Reeder was great at that.
Yeah, so a lot of times it depends on the size of the county and how many judges they have. So some counties, like Ingham County, for example, they have an entire family division where those judges are handling just your family law cases, your juvenile delinquency, those sorts of things. They may have a judge that's assigned to just a purely civil docket, others that are assigned to business court. In smaller counties, you'll see that the judges will share the caseload, so they'll get assigned a percentage of family law cases, a percentage of criminal cases, a percentage of civil cases, and they share that docket. In the percentages, the portions of that is not always the same. Some counties will have one judge who will take on more criminal law cases than family law cases.
That's why we do it, I think, here. I want to say it's a big, so I believe Suzanne Geddes that's leaving, I think she was a prosecutor, so she took on the lion's share of all the criminal cases, and then we had other divorce, family law that did divorce. So basically the experience that you come with, whether it's criminal or civil, it's more likely that's where your docket will go. So I'm hearing a lot of, well, he doesn't have this, she doesn't have this. It doesn't matter. What they have will get utilized. They will stir the pot, separate according to strengths, and I mean that's just probably one of the most efficient way to do a court, right? So having the experience you have, that you'll probably preside over, should you win, you'll preside over that type of stuff the same way with any other judge. We have our vice chair here, county commissioner, wants to know how long you think it'll take to wind up your current caseload.
So my current caseload, especially with appellate cases, they tend to linger for longer times, right? It takes longer for the Court of Appeals for cases to move through, get to oral argument, and get decisions on those. So it's a lot of that will be making sure that my files are completely up to date, all the filing deadlines are met, and making sure that whoever it is who's going to take over my docket, I would be working with them to make sure they're coming up to speed and familiar with the cases that they're going to inherit from me.
And working for a prosecutor's office, there are other attorneys that can step in, so it's not like you got to go hire, your own replacement or something. So that's good news.
It's one of the best parts of working in a prosecutor's office. You have a team of attorneys around you, and everybody has their niche that they're really good at. So you're always learning from each other and bouncing ideas off of each other. It just helps you become a better, more well-rounded attorney.
Sure. So, what will be? I mean, obviously, other than the job, what's different? Is there a difference in your lifestyle or in your life, being a judge versus being a prosecutor?
I think for me, in my personal life, there probably won't be much change, right? I will still do all the things that I love doing. I'm hunting, fishing, all that sort of stuff that I enjoy doing. And as a prosecutor, we're used to having pretty significant caseloads and working longer hours, and that's no exception for judges either. So handling those cases and putting in the time, that's something I'm already familiar with doing.
I guess I was looking more along the lines of restrictions and things like that. Are there things you can do now that you won't be able to do once you're a judge?
I see what you're asking. Yeah, so there are some limitations on judges and how involved they can be in certain political activities, and so that would be a difference. But for the most part, judges are held to a very high standard of ethics and integrity, and so are prosecutors. And as you know, I work for Doug Lloyd, and Mr. Lloyd runs a very tight ship, and he expects the highest level of integrity from his attorneys inside the office when we're representing him, and in our personal lives as well. So it's something that I think I'm probably already there.
Okay.
Insofar as any political limitations, I don't see that being a major issue for me. For the most part, if not completely already, I'm compliant with all of those requirements.
So here's a question really for both of you. And so right now you're an advocate, except you're not. You kind of are, but you're not. You work for, you work for the people. And I know that, as I know this from my husband, and that is a civil attorney, a family attorney, any attorney, they're an advocate for their client, where a prosecutor has to advocate for justice. But you're still an advocate. You still basically take one side of the argument. What's that going to be like, going to the neutral zone, if you will?
Yeah, so you make a very good point. Prosecutors are very uniquely situated in the legal field. We're the only attorneys in the courtroom who really don't have a client. Our client is everybody, the people of the state of Michigan. And so when I'm in the courtroom, I'm there to make sure that the victims' rights are being protected. I'm there to make sure that the community is being protected, and I'm there to make sure that the defendant's constitutional rights are being protected and upheld as well. As a prosecutor, we take positions. We look at the law, and we present the law to the court, and we make arguments on how the court should rule one way or the other. That shift into being a judge and being a neutral arbiter of the law, now I would be taking in the arguments from both sides and considering that law that both sides are presenting to me, researching the law myself, and making a decision that is based strictly on the law and the facts in front of me. And that's where it's kind of different, is I won't be taking a position on the law and arguing in one direction or another. Whereas an appellate attorney, there are times where you may have conflicting opinions, right? You may be looking at different jurisdictions and seeing how different jurisdictions are handling things, and as a prosecutor, I may be arguing that one particular jurisdiction's interpretation of the law or application of the law is more conducive to the public welfare than another's, and so I may advocate and advance that position forward. As a judge, you have to take whatever the binding precedent is in front of you and apply that precedent and make a very clear record, a very good record, so that the Court of Appeals and the Michigan Supreme Court and our legislatures, if need be, can review that and make decisions as far as how that law should be developed into the future.
Well, and you being an appellate attorney, you'd kind of have an inside track on kind of what they're going to look like, if almost like how not to get appealed. You'd know kind of the special sauce, right? I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's just you know, what you said earlier about working in the appellate courts, it seems like it would give you an insight on how not to, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. On appeal, we're looking at a number of things. You know, we're reviewing what happened in the trial court, and so, you know, somebody is raising an issue saying this error happened in the trial court. I'm reviewing that record and making an argument of whether or not that's true. There have been times where I look at a case and I go, yep, they're right, this error occurred and we need to go and fix that. And there's been other times where I take, you know, I look at the record and I go, you know, nope, this is where the record is. I think this was done correctly, and looking at applying the law to those facts and making that argument accordingly. So on appeal, I'm very familiar with what the common issues are that you see that occur in the trial court, and I'm very familiar with how to avoid them. And part of that is really, as a judge, knowing how to make a very clear, very accurate record. Because when you get into the appeals world, everything that you're relying on is transcripts. And so knowing how to make that record so that everything that happens in your courtroom is clear for anybody who looks at that transcript after the fact. That's very important. That's a skill that takes attorneys a long time to develop, and it's very important for a judge to be able to develop that record and do so clearly and in an effective manner.
Wow, yeah, I guess. In my Attorney Drick would say that before you can pull a rabbit out of the hat, you first must put the rabbit in the hat. So that to me is the preparation for the, Jay always said, Jay used to do landlord tenant, and he'd say, I write my leases so even I can't break them.
That's right, yep.
So that's, to me, that's what you're saying. You're setting it up so even your appeal wouldn't make it. So exactly. That's good news. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial, and then we'll be right back. Don't go away. We're going to go right... Where are we going to go? We're going here.
Welcome to the right side. And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank. You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be solved. Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there. And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rinke with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Bode. Thanks, Kelly. There are no shortage of them. We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh yeah,
3.2 million citizens. It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
And we're back. I was starting to choke. I had to get a drink of water. Sorry about that. All right, we're back here with Christopher Gandella, and he's one of 2 conservative candidates running for that open seat. We have to work together to get a conservative candidate in that seat. So you are known as a prosecutor, but I heard earlier you talked about family law. Tell me how that worked, or what's your extent? What's the extent there?
Yeah, so I have quite a bit of family law experience, having worked in the circuit court as a judicial law clerk.
Okay.
And so what we were talking about earlier, how some judges will preside over a family law bench. The judge that I worked for presided over a family law bench. And so everything that we handled was family law, child abuse and neglect, juvenile delinquency, and occasionally we cover some, probate stuff, adoptions, those sorts of things, and personal protection orders, which whoever gets elected to this position will handle personal protection orders as well. So, family law can be a very interesting area of law. It is a very interesting area of law, and it can be a very complex area of law because you can even be looking at law that involves compacts with other states, and how custody decisions made by other states will apply when people move to Michigan. And those are cases that will come before this judge. They come before our circuit court here in Livingston County. And there are cases that I have a lot of familiarity with. I've handled family law cases, seen them come through the front of the court process and up to the circuit court judge, where we handled the de novo review hearings, we made the custody determinations, we handled the chambers meetings with the children, where that's kind of a unique thing that happens in family law, where oftentimes in custody situations, children will be interviewed by the judge to determine what their preferences are, what their circumstances are, and how they're perceiving the situation that they're in. And those are all things that I've participated in with the judge. They're things that we discussed and made, I would make recommendations to the court on any number of family law things that came before us. We had parenting time disputes, we had custody disputes, we had division of property assets. That's always a big one in divorces. Prenuptial agreements and interpreting those and the application of those. So those are all things that I'm very, very familiar with, have handled, and I've done it from the court side. So exactly the job that I'm.
So you weren't representing an attorney, or you were kind of like on behalf of a judge.
Correct.
These things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I wasn't. I didn't have a client. I wasn't advocating to the court. I was actually interpreting the law in that neutral arbiter way.
Okay.
And making those recommendations to the court of, this is how the law applies to the facts that are in front of us in this particular case. And also drafting the judicial opinions. One thing that I did a lot of was writing judicial opinions. And then I would present them to the judge, and the judge and I would discuss the case, the law. We'd go through the opinions. Sometimes the judge would have changes, markups, those sorts of things. Other times, she'd look at it and say, yep, this looks pretty good. A couple changes here and there, and of course, it was always up to the judge to make the final determination whether to sign the order, because it's their order and opinion. So I'm very familiar with the family law aspect of what the circuit court will be doing.
Okay. All right. So let's talk. I made my notes here. What did I write? Criminal law. What kind of insight can you give, as from the judicial standpoint, about criminal law?
So when you're dealing with any sort of criminal law case, the question that's before the court a lot of times is, you're talking about people's liberties, people's freedoms, right? And you want to make sure that whoever is presiding over that criminal law case understands criminal procedure, criminal law, and how to apply that to cases. Because you don't want to get it wrong in a criminal case. You don't want to make a mistake. Because, for example, if you have a pretrial motion in any criminal case, but a serious criminal case, a violent offender, for example, and you exclude evidence improperly, that's going to create an appeal, which costs taxpayer dollars, or costs the defendant, money to have to pay attorneys to go through the process, or if they're represented by a public defender, again, taxpayer dollars. But also, you're creating issues where you're potentially making it so that somebody who has committed a crime is not going to, the prosecution is not going to be able to do their job effectively if you're getting it wrong on the bench. So you have to know criminal law, you have to know criminal procedure because you can't make mistakes on those types
You know,
of cases.
I like the way you just described that. Once upon a time, for 27 years, I taught a program called Leadership Livingston with Clear University, and one of the sessions that I taught was state and local government, and Sheriff Murphy and I for 1,100 years did. He did the cops. I did the judges. He did them in the morning. I did the afternoon, and we walked through. And one of the things one of my parts was to bring in Mr. Drick to talk about civil law. I brought in the chief prosecutor and I brought in the chief public defender, and they came in and they all presented. But Jay always spoke first, and he spoke about the difference between criminal and civil, and he had this spiel going. It was very interesting. But one of the things he used to tell everybody is he would use a football field as an analogy, and he would say, in civil law, all you have to do is have the preponderance of the evidence. So he would have this, all you gotta do is take the football, cross the 51-yard line, you win. But in criminal law, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, which means you're on the 1-yard line and you have to go score the touchdown on the other side before you can win. So there's a much, much, much higher standard, because losing your liberty is different. Losing your freedom is much different than losing some money. So the standard is much different. So that's kind of what I hear you saying when you're talking about if you mess up with criminal law, it's a much bigger situation.
That's exactly that. I mean, Jay's analogy is perfect there. With criminal law, you like you said, if you mess up, you're dealing with people's freedoms and you're dealing with public safety, and those are two very, very important things.
Yeah, so it goes bad either way. Either somebody loses their liberty unfairly, or somebody should lose their liberty and didn't. So either way, it's a mess up. So
that's right. And in criminal cases, you have double jeopardy. So if there are times where evidentiary issues will come up right at the cusp of trial or even during trial. In fact, that's extremely common. In the midst of trial, there's objections. There may be motions, oral motions in limine, all kinds of things that can come up to try and exclude evidence, get evidence in. And at that point, when you're in the midst of trial, the jury's been sworn in, double jeopardy attaches. The prosecution doesn't get a second chance to try that case again. So you want to make sure that every decision you make, you're making it correctly and based on the law. And that takes experience, and that takes having been in the trenches, having done those cases, having made those arguments to the courts in the midst of a very high stakes criminal trial. That's the type of experience that you want in a judge who's sitting on that bench, somebody who understands what it's like to be on that other side, understands the law, and is going to take that fair position of hearing both the defense's argument, the prosecution's argument, and then applying that law and applying it fairly and getting it right the first time.
yes, I can imagine, because I mean, it doesn't happen tons maybe, but when it does, it's a horrible thing. I mean, we're going right now through, and Livingston County knows this really well. What's his name, Jerome Kowalski, and there's all kinds of stuff going on there with problems, and that's where our judge got removed, because she was having an affair with the lead detective in that case. While the case was on trial. So it is just not, it was horrible. So, I mean, that's the kind of mess up that, anyway, it's just a bad thing. So that's good to know that you understand that. So let's get off the bench for just a minute. Talk about what kind of things when you're not running. Of course, when you're not running for judge is not at all right now. But once upon a time when you weren't running for judge, what kind of things did you do? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Yeah, someday I might be able to get back to those
hobbies. One or the other, yes.
Yeah. In my free time, I do all sorts of different things. As you know, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love hunting. I love fishing. Any of the outdoor recreational sports. I just love getting out into nature. My wife and I have even gotten into bird watching over the last couple of years, which maybe is a sign that I'm getting older.
No, bird watching is awesome.
But
Mr. Drick will chime in here in a moment. I know it isn't. It's expensive and crazy, but all right.
I also do a lot of woodworking, and woodworking. I love doing woodworking. woodworking. Yeah.
Like I hear woodworking. I hear whittling. What kind of woodworking do you do?
Not so much whittling.
Okay.
More power tools.
Yeah, building and creating.
I do a lot of wood turning on the lathe, making benches, chairs, tables, those sorts of things. I do chessboards, crosses, wine bottle stoppers. I kind of anything that you can think of that's a good gift idea. I've probably dabbled with it at one point or another. So I do enjoy doing that. I think because the sawdust, my wife may not enjoy it as much as I do. But
no, you think you should be in a house where I'm making bunny seasoning? Got veggie dust everywhere.
Right. I also do some stained glass work. Actually, I really enjoy doing stained glass. It's something I got into not that long ago. Actually, about a year ago. Actually, it was a birthday gift my wife got for me. She got me a stained glass.
You must
glass.
have the patience of Job. I'm listening to your hobbies: fishing, hunting, woodwork. That's all hobbies for the patient. It is not hobbies for the. I want to dig up a bunch of grass and put a tree in right now, or dig up a tree and put in hostas. I don't know, but that's all patient work.
Yes, it is. It definitely, especially fishing, that requires quite a bit of patience. So yeah, those.
What do you fish for?
I do a little bit of everything.
Primarily.
Really. It kind of depends on what I'm trying.
Are you like a fly fisherman, angler?
I have done fly fishing actually. Yes, yep. I'm I'm not a pro at it by any means, but I do enjoy doing a little bit of fly fishing. I love trolling for pike and walleye. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Michelle Blondale. That's exactly what I just said. You got the patience of Job. The hobbies, either that or the hobbies are because he has such a calm demeanor. I don't know that you can be. I'm listening to one of these things going, nah, I'm not missing patient, no. But I mean, they sound peaceful and probably stress reliever too.
Yes, yeah. It's being a prosecutor. It's a very kind of fast-paced life sometimes, and being able to slow down and kind of recenter yourself, and those types of hobbies kind of give you that opportunity to do that.
All right, so yeah, we're still got a little time, but so tell me tell us about your background. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school, et cetera, et cetera?
So I grew up in northern Michigan. I actually grew up in Gaylord, Michigan. And a lot of my family's from here in Livingston County. My parents actually were from Livingston County and then moved up to the Gaylord area before I was in the picture. So that's how I ended up there, and I was very fortunate to be able to grow up, and probably part of the reason why I love outdoor sports so much.
I would say.
Growing up out in the country. I spent a lot of summers down here in Livingston County. My grandparents owned a house on Bass Lake down in Pinckney.
Oh, okay.
And so I spent a lot of summers actually fishing out on Bass Lake, which is a great. Maybe I shouldn't tell anybody this, but it's a great lake for panfish. So if you like panfishing, I'm giving away one of my secrets.
All right.
It's after graduating high school, I went from northern Michigan to Wayne State and Detroit, so very big difference there. Definitely a little bit of culture shock, but I did my undergrad at Wayne State University, majored in political science and actually Italian language and literature. So I did that.
Oh, there's a common pair if I ever heard one. My goodness. All right.
Yeah.
So you went where from there?
From there, I went to MSU for law school,
okay.
And that's where I met my wife. So she was. I was wrapping up my first year of law school. She was starting her first year of medical school.
Okay.
That was a great worked out great for us because we spent endless hours in the library studying. Ended up meeting my best friend, and she's now a resident physician down at the University of Michigan. So even though
that would have been hard.
I know, even though we're both diehard Spartans, she works down there. And,
that must be fun. Come October.
Hey, it is what it is.
Right.
And then as soon as we actually got married, closed on our first home, and she graduated medical school in the exact same week. So we closed on
my gosh.
We closed on our house, and I think it was the very next day we got married in the morning, went to her medical school graduation, and then had the wedding reception immediately after.
Did she go in her wedding dress? Did she go through the?
She was a pro at
Oh
costume
my
changes.
gosh! I guess. Oh my gosh! What, did she throw her hat or did she throw her veil?
Both.
Well,
yeah, and that was when we bought our home here in Livingston County. We wanted to come back and be closer to family because my grandparents aren't here anymore, but I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins in the area.
Okay.
So this is Livingston County has always kind of felt like home for me. My wife was originally from Fenton, so very 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 close by. A lot of family in that area as well. So came back to Livingston County, best county in the state, and that's where we're putting our roots down, and that's part of why I'm running for judge. Is it is an investment into the future of our community and an investment into having a rule of law judge on the bench and an investment into public safety.
So a couple of tougher questions. First of all, question one: if you were not to win the nod this time, in 2 more years, everybody's favorite Judge Longsworth is up for re-election. Would you be interested in coming back and having at it again?
I'm going to keep everyone in suspense on that. That's a podcast for another time.
Well, let's just say this: is it a possibility?
Anything's a possibility.
Okay, all right.
Give you a reason to have me back on your show.
Fair enough. Yes, we will definitely do that. And I guess the other tough question is: should you not make it through, and our other Christina make it through, or are you going to endorse the other conservative candidate?
It's very likely, yes.
Okay, good. All right. That's the magic question. That's because in the end, we all have to come together. August 5th, we're having a unity party here, and it's a unity breakfast. It's not really a party. Nobody feels like partying. We're all tired. But 9 o'clock on August 5th, drag your butt here. I don't care how tired you are, how frustrated you are. Drive Craig here because it is important. We stick together. We understand emotions get high and People, I mean, anybody paying attention is seeing the drama and the emotions right now, but just August 5th, it has to go away, and anybody we're all going to link arms again and move east. If it doesn't go away, we'll just let those people go through and go west, and anybody that doesn't want to go east with us can go away. I have no time for that. So I'm glad to hear that, Christopher. I really want, I think the best thing in the world and the worst thing in the world at the same time is that both you and Christina make it through. I mean, it really would be the best thing in the world. That way, Livingston, who said it? Was it Greg? Greg. Was it you, Greg? It was Greg. It was Greg O'Neill, yes. As Greg O'Neill said, we got 2 good candidates we need, and we'll support anyone that wins. So that is the most important thing here. The Livingston County Republican Party, as I said in a news statement the other day, our mission is to get Republicans on the bench. Why is anybody surprised? But that's what we do. Oh my gosh, you're inserting yourself into bipartisan politics. We're supposed to put Republicans in there. That's what we're supposed to do. It's like we're not supposed to do it. We're not supposed to sit back and go, well, this one doesn't matter. That's not what we do. So anybody that thinks that's thinking weird. All right, what else you want us to know in the last few minutes before we go into commercial and come back with?
I saw Michelle had a really good question she had asked. I think it was if I'm close with my parents.
Are you close with your parents?
Yes.
That is a good question.
And that's a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. I'm very close with my parents, and it's been actually one of the best parts of campaigning. Is I've been fortunate to have my parents on the campaign trail with me a number of times. And,
talk about making memories. Woo.
Right, exactly. we have made a lot of great memories, both me and my wife and me and my parents. We're out there door knocking, we're out there putting signs up, whether it was hot, whether it was smoky, whatever the case may be. We're putting the time in and we're doing it. And it's been great to be able to spend that time with my parents. And I know they've been enjoying it as well, as much work as it is, and I know they're exhausted, but I think they're enjoying it as well.
Parents don't understand. I mean, kids don't understand that parents can literally sit there and look at the phone and wish it was their kids calling. I mean, we miss having you around, and so I know I'm always thrilled when one of my kids calls and says, "Hey, Mom, can we do this, or can you help me with this?" "Sure, I'll be right there." Phew. You know, I mean, I enjoy spending that time with them, so that's good that your family is doing that. I mean, no matter what happens, that's always going to be there. You know, that memory, and the family who puts up signs together dines together. I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, it's good that, you know, they're involved, because it is important. Family's important. So,
That's right.
all right. So, what you got a website or something that we should know about?
I do, yes. Christopher Candela, or CandelaForJudge.com is my website.
Okay.
Oh,
CandelaForJudge.com. All right.
Yep, and you know, that has my platform on it, my endorsements, my bio history,
Okay.
experience, all of that good stuff is on there. There's also we've been trying to keep up with uploading pictures from the campaign trail on there, so that you can see the different events that we're attending. You can also follow us on social media, Christopher Candela for Circuit Court Judge on Facebook, Christopher Candela JD on Instagram.
Okay.
And there is a TikTok page as well that I am actually not sure off the top of my head what the handle is for that one. But we're very active on social media, so you can keep up with all the different things that we're doing in the campaign. Sometimes, you know, some of it's very serious. We do a lot of, you know, updates on the law, that sort of stuff, but then we also try to have fun with it as well. Making videos along the way as we're out meeting people in the community and participating in different community events.
Yes, well, that's good. So, you have anything coming up?
You know, right now
Or
we're
just busting butt with the doors?
just hitting the
Okay.
doors. Yep, that is the final push towards August 4th. We just had our Countdown to Election Day cookout. It was an awesome event.
Where was that now?
So that was right in downtown Brighton, just
Okay.
I guess that'd be east of the railroad tracks, past Brewery Becker there, kind of where the roundabout is on the
Right.
on the edge of town. So we
Third
had
Street or something.
Yep, yep. And so we had a big, you know, cookout there, right on the front lawn of one of my friends' homes there, and so, you know, very grateful.
Get a good turnout?
Yes, great turnout. We had lots of people show up, lots of support. Kind of blew me away how much support we had. People coming and staying the whole time, and then we had tons and tons of people coming in, grabbing a burger, you know, saying hi, taking off. People just coming and going. People driving by, you know, great street, lots of traffic. People driving by honking their horns, you know, shouting out "Vote Candela."
Wow.
So it was just it was a really great experience. You know, great way to kind of lead into the countdown to election day. That's right.
The lead into the madness of the last week.
So now we're knocking doors. We're, you know, doing the phone banking, all that kind of stuff. That we're going nonstop, pedal to the floor until election day, because you know, we're not going to stop working until we see the votes start coming in.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Christopher, thanks for coming in. Good luck on Tuesday. We're kind of a minute and a half out, so I just want to kind of thank you again for coming, and thanks for stepping up and running. And you know, we want the best for both of you, so I'm hoping, you know, whichever one doesn't make it, it's gonna be bad, but I'm hoping that they, you know, have a pity party for a couple months, but come back fighting for the for what we will start nice and early on in this next campaign, because we have a wild judge that needs to go. So anyway, all right, well, this is Christopher. So we're gonna go to a couple commercials, and then we're gonna come back, and we're gonna have our other candidate, Christina Lake. So we will be back shortly.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support.
Okay, so Christina's not here yet, but that's okay because I've got some stuff to talk about here. One thing I want to, again, reiterate that it's okay to cheer for your candidate, but this is a Republican show. These are two Republicans, and we're not going negative. So I will not be presenting that. So let me get this up while I'm doing this. Let's see, image file, that's what I want. I had this ready, and then I had to reboot, so I apologize. It'll take a second. Here we go. It's going to upload. This is what I want to tell everybody. This Saturday, August 1, Brian Ignatowski's having another walk day, and I will be here flipping the pancakes and making the eggs. And actually, Trevor, Brian's co-worker, is a phenomenal cook. I was here all by myself last time, and I called Brian. I said I'm alone, and he sends Trevor. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm watching him, like I said, can you go get this, the potatoes over there, keep them stirred or whatever. And I'm watching thinking, how much supervision am I going to have to do? And I see him pick up the pans and he's on the pan, and I went, okay, he's good. Well, I'm good. So anyway, Trevor and I will be once again cooking for the 9 to 10:30 a.m. breakfast this Saturday, August 1st. It's August almost. And we're going to be here at the Victory Center. I'm telling you, we have pancakes that we have actually my award-winning bunny cakes and scrambled eggs, and then we have those fabulous fried potatoes, and I always donate the bunny seasoning to this. So you have fried potatoes with bunny seasoning, and anybody that's ever had them will tell you how great they are. And of course sausage. So please come here 9 to 10:30 for breakfast, and then 10:30 a.m. he's going to do some walking. So you can always RSVP to me, chair@livingstonrepublicans.com, and I'll make sure he gets, why isn't that going there? Okay, exit full screen, we'll do that. All right, so yeah, and I'll make sure he gets the, message, so we're going to do that. So, while we're waiting for Christina to get here, just want to kind of also talk about a little bit about the school board situation. I could not be happier to say that we have 3 Howell conservative candidates we're getting behind, and 3 Heartland candidates we're going to get behind, and I could not be happier. I just couldn't. For the longest time it was so hard to get school board candidates, and they, for some reason, they stepped right up. So we are in great shape. We have Courtney Tarara, who is a conservative candidate that she's already a member. She's rerunning. We have Stephanie. She was Stephanie Leach, but her name didn't get changed in time, so it's like Cookier or something. And then there's Brandon Barefield's running for the partial term. So these are 3 candidates. We are going to be starting a sign matching program like we did for Brian Ignatowski, which I also had to talk about. It is basically we'll put prices up, and for every sign you buy, you donate money to the school board sign. You donate money to buy a sign, like a 4x8 or 4x4, we'll match it. So you buy 1 sign, he'll get 2, or they'll get 2. So we cannot do that with the candidate. We're doing it separate. So don't talk to the candidate about it. It has to be to me. So chair@livingstonrepublicans.com, and we are going to get behind these candidates as hard as we can. You guys you've listened to me complain about Stacy Passini and her vote recently, the vice chair of Howell Schools. It has, and she stepped down. She decided she wasn't running. I am disappointed that she didn't just say, fine, I'm tired, I don't want to run a challenge campaign. Instead decided to say the political interference is toxic or some nonsense. And then of course you hear the current chair, Christy, I think her name is Christy, say that that this is what happens when partisan politics get involved in nonpartisan races. And to that I say, that is the battle cry of those who don't want you to know what their politics are. So to me, that's the benefit of getting involved, is, the people that don't represent your values go away. So, I'm like I said, if Stacy would have just, bowed out gracefully, then we would have wished her well and thanked her for her service. But as it was, she took a swipe. So that was, I'm not sure why she did that, but all right, you got your swipe in, and we're going to get our candidates in. So that's just how it is. Heartland's in good shape. First of all, the superintendent, Chuck Hughes, announced his retirement, so he is going to retire. Now the question is, who's going to replace him? I will say that it will be very hard for any candidate without a guarantee, and I'll talk about that in a minute, to step into that role, because there's a really good possibility of a whole new board come January, because if we get 2 of the 3 that we're supporting, we have a conservative majority there for the first time like ever. So any new superintendent that gets hired by the liberal current board could find themselves in a world of hurt. So lots of them won't even apply if that's the case. So the only thing they could do is they could promote somebody from within, which would be a mistake, if there was a written guarantee that if for some reason they got let go, they had to go back to their thing. That would not surprise me that they pulled that, but we'll see. So anyway, that is what's going on with the school board, and so I could not be happier. So watch for our announcements about the Adopt-A-Sign. We're doing that with Brian Ignatowski right now. So it is I don't think I have I'll try and find on our next commercial, I'll try to dig up the flyer for you, but there's a QR code. You can buy Brian a sign, and for every sign you buy, we'll match. So you buy him 1, he gets 2. And again, this is not something we're doing with Brian. We cannot do it with Brian, so you do it with us, and we will do it. We will buy the signs, we'll have them made, and we will put them up. So we're also looking for Washtenaw County or border county on main roads for big signs. So if you have any locations like that, chair at Livingston Republicans. Chair at livingstonrepublicans.com. All right, I hear Christine walking in the door over there, so I'm going to go get her and bring her back here, and we're going to start. Be back in a minute.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why? Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe. We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
I'm an attorney who goes to work every day to fight for our community and defend our Constitution. My name is Christina Like, and now I want to be your next circuit court judge. And that means ensuring our constitutional rights are protected, protecting the innocent lives of our children, making decisions based upon rule of law and not politics. making court more affordable, and always placing the people first.
Okay, we're back. Oh, look, a new judge candidate. We're here. We have the second of our two conservative judicial candidates, Christina Like. So welcome, Christina. Thanks for coming.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, we're glad you're here. So I'm going to kind of jump right into it. I'm going to kind of go over the same questions. And then you'll have a free time to talk about whatever you want to. So tell us about you and why do we want to vote for you for judge?
A little bit about my background. I was raised here. I was raised in Pinckney. 2 loving parents, 3 brothers. 2 of my brothers are veterans, so I've always served the veterans. I have experience in criminal law, family law, also constitutional law, but I also have experience in different areas of law like civil law, torts, defamation, conversion, property, personal protection orders, and also extreme protection orders, which are all part of circuit court. So we need to have we need to have a judge that has the experience of all those different areas of law.
Okay, so we have, I'm just reminding our people here, with Christopher, we talked about Christopher and why Christopher. We're not taking any shot comments about Christina, and we're talking with Christina about Christina. So just remember that. I just want to make sure we didn't really get into that, but we approached it. So we're not taking any gotcha questions or anything. So I deleted one comment already today, and we're not going to do that again. So, all right. So we're here to talk about Christina. This is all Christina all the time right now. We're not talking about anybody else. So let's see. What in your experience will help you be a really good judge?
Well, I think I just answered that, but one of the things that I think that I'm different about, I know this, is that I have all the differences, I just got done being out in the area.
Go ahead. Take your time.
But one of the experiences that I have is that I actually practice criminal law, family law, civil law. I also take care of defamation cases. I also take care of family spousal support issues, personal protection orders. So I've done a wide variety of cases, but I also dealt with specialty courts like Veterans Court. I also dealt with sobriety court. So I have the experience what circuit court is. I also have 20 years of experience. I've won several different awards that actually have explained my excellence in the field of these different areas of law. So I have the experience. Plus, when you're a trial lawyer, you have to know too the evidence rules, you have to know the court rules, and that you have to be very quick on your feet. And if you're not quick on your feet, then you're not going to be able to judge those over. So for instance, if like Deb objected to something I was asking a question of, I need to go and either overrule that objection or I need to sustain it. But I need to know those evidence rules very quickly, and I also need to know those court rules very quickly as well.
Oh, good. All right. So give us an example of a good judge, or some examples, not one. Give us some examples of what you would consider a good judge and then what you consider not a good judge.
Sure. One of the examples I would say is so for instance, a judge who does not know this area, particularly, let's say a conversion case. I had a conversion case, it was a jury trial, and it was over a dog. And I thought this judge did absolutely wonderful because this was a new area of law. And he wasn't familiar with this, so what he did is he let us argue our motions, and then he gave us a written opinion afterwards because he wanted to look up the law later. Mm-hmm. And what I would do in those kind of circumstances, I wouldn't say how I rule, but if I don't know something, I'm always going to look it up. And that's one of the best things to do. And one of the worst things I've seen a lot of different things that are bad. First of all, judges not reviewing my briefs. That's bad in the judge. Mm-hmm. They don't review the motions. And I can tell when I look right into their eyes. I'll ask them, I'll say, and I know the court has reviewed my motion, and you can tell that they haven't. So then that just makes me a little bit more longer on the record. But my point is this, is that if they don't read it, they're not doing your client any justice, and that's not being fair and impartial.
They're not doing their job.
Right. And then in addition to that, there's also judges too, that if they don't know the law, they'll just spew out any answer. And that's that's things that I've seen.
We've seen that recently.
I've seen
Boy,
that.
oh boy.
I've also seen some, prejudicial opinions. I've also seen people who are judges who like guardian ad litems better than, maybe the attorney, and because they're friends with that individual. That's just bias. It gives you a bias and a prejudicial opinion and a judgment. And so what that does is it does not give justice to the family, nor do those for the children as well.
Okay. So talk to me about your thoughts on nonpartisan races and the politics that may or may not support them. Keeping in mind you're on a Republican podcast about talking about a nonpartisan judge, but I'm catching a lot of flack recently, and I consider saying things, and I've said it earlier. Sorry, you're hearing it twice. I've caught a lot of flack with people saying partisan politics have no business in nonpartisan races, and my answer to that is people who say that don't want you to know what their politics are. It's the battle cry. You have a judicial philosophy, and I use the example of COVID. It wasn't the Republican judges putting people in jail or taking away liberty because of the COVID situation. It was the Democrat judges. So and while it is a nonpartisan judge, where do you see partisan beliefs influence?
Well, first of all, there shouldn't be politics in a courtroom. And this is where a lot of the lawfare goes into question. When I go up to, for instance, if somebody comes into my office, I don't ask them if they're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. I say, how can I serve you? How can I help you with this matter? And that is what you're supposed to do as a judge. You're not supposed to go and spew out your politics or anything of that nature. And if you're biased, or if you have a certain opinion on a certain, let's say, an issue that you're very much into, and because we've seen that in the past, being ruled on, then you need to go and conflict yourself out. And a lot of judges will not. And that's the problem that you see sometimes even in circuit court. And when I go to doors, I talk to people about this kind of stuff, and I say there should not be politics inside the courtroom. And, I've ran for office before, and people know certain things about myself. But the thing of it is that I became an attorney because of the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, and I didn't like bullies. The Second Amendment was because my dad was a gun dealer, and my mother gave me my faith. And I have actually stated many times over and over again, this is the reason why I became an attorney. Now, I also lecture many places. I go to the Capitol, I talk about the First Amendment. I also lecture about the Second Amendment too as well. I've taught many students about the Second and First Amendment. I've actually gotten people their guns back, because the Constitution is the Constitution. It's not this document that waves all around to what the time period is.
That's true.
The document is a document, and our framers were really intelligent back then.
Okay, so let me say it a different way, because you had a great answer, but it wasn't the question I was asking, so I asked it wrong. I'm not asking should politics be in the courtroom. What I'm asking is, what influence does partisan politics have on, not in the courtroom, but on, what partisan does it play in nonpartisan races? I guess that's the word. I'm not saying will you be a Republican judge. That's I know you can't do that. So, and I know you won't do that. What's the play, if any, that you see that what is it? You look at two candidates.
I think what you're trying to say is
what we're saying is you got some Democrats, you got some Republicans. Why is that, or shouldn't it matter? Does it not matter? Is there any difference between you and Gatesman as a candidate? Perfect question, right there.
Well,
no, come on, let's partisan-wise, nothing else.
So there is a lot of difference between myself and Mr. Gatesman.
Partisan-wise.
All right.
As it pertains to partisanship.
As partisan, I will narrow the issue to this.
There you go.
First of all, I'm conservative on the issues. Okay. I abide by the Constitution.
Okay.
That is a big deal. When you are a conservative, you actually abide by the Constitution, and you're a constitutionalist. You also have to make sure, though, that the person does actually read the Constitution and know the Constitution and actually reviews it in case law, because the Constitution comes into very many different parts of laws. Like, first of all, family law. It's come into family law. It's come into custody. It's come into a prenuptial agreement that I actually had. Actually, it was a postnuptial agreement. It's come into Second Amendment issues.
Story.
It is. Criminal law it's come into. So, I actually enjoy, reading the Constitution is like reading the Bible. You learn something new each time that you read it.
Okay.
So I believe that the difference is that I'm conservative on that issue. I believe that the Constitution is actually a document that is there. You don't go and have it revolve around the time period.
Perfect. Okay, that's exactly what I was going for. That was a good answer. Thank you. Let's see. Where's this? What's different? What will be different about, maybe not what will be. What needs to change in a judge's lifestyle? I mean, once you're a judge from being an attorney, what about your lifestyle has to change? And how will yours change?
I don't believe my lifestyle will change. I've always been a hard worker. I'm a workaholic. Actually, my husband says this about me. He thought he worked hard, and then he married me. Sometimes, like when, I'm not ever really that slow in my practice, but if I'm slower than usual, I have to go and look something up. Or people call me late at night. I volunteer for the elections. I've done election laws. I've done, I've volunteered during the time period for the, not the ballots, but the day of election, to be the lawyer there. I volunteered to go and teach people different things about the Second Amendment, teach people about the First Amendment. So I do a lot of things out in the community, but as a judge, I want to continue to serve the community by actually going and doing more stuff like with Torch 180 and the different foundations that we do have out there. There's a lot of things that I've done in the past that has helped this community, and I think that's kind of a difference, it's a big difference between myself and the other candidates. I've always been a part of this community and actually have given back to this community, and that's what you should do as a judge too.
So I guess let me put it a different way. What, as it pertains to restrictions, I know judges have restrictions that attorneys, doctors, lawyers, they don't have. What might change because of the judicial restrictions?
Well, you cannot label yourself as a Republican. Right. That's number one. I actually gave up my precinct delegate so that I could run for judge. So that's part of it too, because it's not supposed to be political. The other thing is that your family members, whoever's connected to you, you have to make sure that they're not saying anything inappropriate either, which I don't think I have a problem with that at all. But we have to follow the canons, and we have to make sure. But people don't realize too that as an attorney, you can't lie. You can't go and do a lot of things. There's professional ethics that we have to follow, and I don't really see too much of a difference except for giving up that the Republican side of it, giving up some of the, one of the things too is they put it as, there's a new rule out there, and I don't know if it's sketched in there or not, but there is a rule actually that you're not supposed to be hanging out with the other attorneys that you know.
I have heard that.
Yeah, but a lot of the judges that I know of, because once you know the people, it's not
right.
It's not
especially
like
when you were attorneys with them.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So you're not going to turn your back, because then that goes to the canon too. You got to be respectful to people.
Yep.
And so I don't see that. That's not really sketched in there yet. I haven't seen.
No,
that.
but it's interesting you brought that up, because when I think back to the trouble that judges have been in, it's usually with attorneys that they were friends with, or in like some cases attorneys and officers. There's always friends of attorneys that are in there mixed somewhere. So yeah, maybe that's not such a, maybe it needs to be sketched out better, but I can understand where that I can understand where there needs to be some sort of limits. I remember Jay telling me one time that judges have to be very, very, very careful, even so much as being, having one too many drinks in a bar. Suddenly, everything's wrong. It's like an attorney. I used to play softball with a bunch of attorneys, and I remember many nights driving them home, leaving their car at the Grand River in front of Cleary's while I drove them home and propped them in a corner and woke their wife up, So you can't do that when you're a judge. Never did one of the judges that play. They went home. So I always thought that was kind of interesting that a judge had to really be careful curbing their, even their social lives, just to make sure that.
I was careful with that anyway, because
Yeah,
the fact
I
is,
was gonna say
you are who you hang out with, and
Right.
you don't want to be around a lot of people that are actually going to be drinking excessively, because people will think that, or maybe use the F word too much, or
Right.
something of that nature, or use GD. I mean, because what goes into your head is you may spew that out, so you don't want to do that.
No, I agree. Okay, so let's see. How do you go? What does it look like for you going from an advocate to a neutral?
That's interesting, because years ago I was I'm still a zealous attorney, but the thing of it is with when I first began 20 years ago, I thought everyone needed to be your enemy on the other side, because I'd fight over $1 with the child support or anything of that nature. And then I realized it was about the goals, and once you get that goal for your client, then everything falls in line. And so I became a better attorney after a couple years more, and I hung out with the older attorneys because they were like mentors. And one of them was Jan Cunningham, who's a judge over in Eaton County, and she's she's a person that I could call up and ask her advice. I could talk to her about any family law matter. Hugh Clark, Judge Aquilina, Judge Reeder, anybody, I could talk to those people. Neil Nielsen I talked to a few times too as well, to ask him a question or two. But I think that the big issue is that I became a mediator, and I was certified as a mediator, and I realized that litigation is not always the answer. So mediation helped me to become so I became a mediator, and I helped people go through those disputes and helped them a lot more effectively and efficiently, so that they weren't wasting a lot of money.
Okay, I know that, like I said, the advocate mindset as an attorney, you have to be, you're ethically bound to be the advocate for your client. So I always wondered, how does that work in your head from going from, I get that you'd be nice to the other side, you don't have to fight to the death, but you still ethically have to fight, advocate for your client the best of your ability. So I just wondered about shifting that brain cell.
It is difficult for some people, because the fact of the matter is that you're sitting up there and you're taking down notes, and you're maybe taking a little bit of, you're listening to an objection, and then you're like, oh, why didn't you object on that one? Or, and I've seen judges do that. And then there's some judges that play prosecutor during the time period, so you have two prosecutors going at the same time period, which it should not be the case. Your role is to sit there and be unbiased, and basically have your ears open.
Yeah, and they both go both ways.
Yes.
Some of them are two prosecutors, some of them are two defense attorneys. So I've seen it go both ways.
That's true.
And you're right. But it's getting yourself to that point. And I imagine there's some sort of judicial class that helps you get there. But I always thought, there's certain tendencies I have as whatever I do. I have tendencies to go right or go left, because it's very difficult to take your head and suddenly shift, and now you don't think of it this way anymore. You now have to think of it this other way. So I think that's a tremendous thing for any attorney to do. So I just commend anybody that can do that well. Good for you.
Well, I actually had to have the practice, not had to, but I was asked at the last minute because a couple of people got sick, and I was asked by Judge Aquilina to judge the Michigan State students for their litigation course. And so I did that, and it was very fascinating, because afterwards I had to tell them the reasons why their objections were sustained or their objections were overruled. I actually had to tell them too how their dress was inappropriate for the courtroom, and I had to at least explain to them why their argument was not prevailing at that time period. And it was, I wanted to say to them, I sandwiched it, because I used to be a track coach too as well. So you start with the positive, then you give the negative, and then you end with a positive.
Yep.
And that helps the students a lot better, because the next time they actually went and did their trial competition, they actually learned a couple of things from myself and from judging. So.
Well, good. All right. So the Livingston County courts have a unique kind of situation where they mix up they mix up the docket according to who's got experience and who's strong in some areas, and when a judge is weak or having trouble, like the recent Judge Longworth switch up, you've seen that, I'm assuming. So
Yes.
They adjust. So with your skills, where do you, I mean, they're going to put your strength in there. So how do you see that shaking up for you? Because they, like I said, when they have, family law or civil law or criminal law or other, with divorce, without divorce, where do you see like where you could be the most effective with the least amount of, I don't know, research
Hiccups?
or, pardon me?
Hiccups?
Yeah, hiccups. That's a good word. Hiccups. That's a great word.
Well,
where could you just like day one, bang, you're there?
I will tell you this, one of the things, I practice in several different courts, and when I go to Livingston County, one of the things I see personally is that, like family law, Judge Longsworth didn't practice family law. And I'm not saying anything negative about Judge Longsworth, I'm just saying she never practiced that. And it's very difficult when you go in front of a judge that has never practiced that stuff, but they try to. And she is trying, although she had the juvenile docket taken away recently.
Oh yeah.
But the thing of it is that, and I've heard other things too as well, but what you have to look at is the chief judge actually assigns those cases. And she couldn't just get all criminal law, because that's what she did, a lot of cases. She did a lot of briefs. She's very good in writing style. Then there's, different judges. We have the probate court too as well. And the probate court does some of the family law too as well.
Yep.
So, 35% of the docket right now, I don't know if you're aware of this, is actually criminal court. And when you go into circuit court, and this is where people don't understand the difference between district court and circuit court. Circuit court is actually major felonies, like human trafficking cases. There's robbery, armed robbery. There's OWI thirds, which is operating while intoxicated. So we call them drunk driving for the layman's terms, right? But if you get a third, that's a felony. We also have sobriety court there too. But the reason why I'm discussing this is because they also handle extreme protection acts, PPOs, which is personal protection orders. And personal protection orders, people have to be very careful about this, because it takes your due process rights away, but also your extreme protection orders, which are considered the red flag laws, those actually take away your Fourth Amendment, your Fifth Amendment, your Sixth Amendment, and your 14th Amendment. So, when you have a judge, you have to make sure that when you elect a judge, they're actually checking out your due process rights, because you don't want those rights taken away without them actually looking at all the material and making sure that a decision is made. And that's the reason why I say that emergency motions need to be heard immediately in front of the court. And that's what I would like to do in my courtroom. But as to your question, and because I wanted to say a few words
That's all right.
on that.
I'm patient. Go ahead.
But as to that, I would say 35% of it would be criminal cases, because that's what I've done. I've tried criminal cases. I know how to pick a jury. I know how many people that we have to have to stand on a jury, because usually people pick 13. I would actually personally pick 14 and have 2 people stay there, because sometimes people get sick or there's a family emergency, and then what happens if you only have 11 judging the case? Then you can't go for it. So you want to make sure that you have a good jury there. You want to make sure that the court rules are being taken care of, and the evidence rules are taken care of. But also, as to the criminal law, I would probably say a lot of the personal protection orders would probably go to me, because I have a lot of experience in that. I also have a lot of experience in family law, and I have a lot of experience in civil law too as well. So, and I have experience in property. So I think that the chief judge would probably be very happy with myself, because of the fact is that I have a vast amount of knowledge of different areas of law. And the primarily I focus on right now is the constitutional law and the criminal and the family law, which are huge things right now into circuit court.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Where are we here? So, all right. We're going to take a quick commercial, and then we'll come back, and we will, as soon as wait a minute. Where my... Oh, no. What happened? Ha! Thought we left you, didn't we? Okay. So, and Rob, I want you to know this is the same camera. I'm telling you, it ain't the fiddle. It works just fine. We'll be back in a minute. We'll be back in just a minute. Let's see.
Welcome to the right side. And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank. You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be solved.
Yes,
Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there. And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Reiki with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Boge. Thanks, Kelly. There are no shortage of them. We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with, different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh, yeah.
3.2 million citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
Okay, we're back and we're all straightened out and my paper's right back up and I've had a chance to review what I was going to say. Jay Drick earlier asked, what will it take for you to clean your docket?
That is a great question. The docket is pretty much loaded, and one of the things that we need to do is make sure that the emergency motions are heard first. But also, I keep saying make court more affordable.
Wait, your current docket, as a lawyer, what will it do for you to close down your shop and
go?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Livingston County.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Your current docket.
My current docket. Actually, I have someone to take over my current docket.
Okay.
I have actually people begging me. They're all supportive of me. They want to take my office and everything, but I'm going to give that to my husband. And
okay.
He's going to have that office.
Woollahan Law.
My secretary is actually very excited to be working with Mr. Woollahan, because the fact of the matter is that I think it's because he's not used to giving directions out, and probably be a little bit slower pace for her, to take directions and stuff like that. So I told her, I said, you want me to become judge so that you can have Dan.
I gotta say, there would be worse people in the world to work for than Dan. That's what I would say.
He's a good guy.
By the way, he's here tonight, right?
He is.
Dan, you're probably watching on your phone. Just know you're not getting out of here till you answer that question I text you. So go back to your text and get the answer ready for me, because I need that answer. Anyway, it was about a legal situation.
All right.
The campaign finance law. He's the guy I go to. So anyway, all right. Well, so just talk us. Tell me about yourself. Tell me what you already told your background. So I'm doing it backwards from last time. So what do you want to see happen when you get there? You've already kind of said that you want to change, you want emergency motions. What are some things that you really like about the system now, and what are 3 things you'd like to change? And I'll give you 3 additional ones in addition to the emergency motion situation.
All right, well, let me just back that up a little bit, because there's a little bit of history here. So I did state that I worked in different courts. So that makes me a little bit different than a lot of the candidates, because I've worked in Eaton County, Shiawassee, Livingston, Ingham, and also Jackson and Clinton County, and several up north. So I've done a lot of work everywhere.
Okay.
And what I see is there's problems in Livingston County, so I see what works and what doesn't work.
That's what I'm asking you right there.
Okay? And one of the things that doesn't work is that, first of all, we have what is called cattle call, and I keep saying, let's make court more affordable. How are we going to do that? Well, first of all, when you go and schedule something, you should be able to schedule a motion and find out how much time that person's going to have or need, and go and schedule that motion so that people are not waiting for the judge. So for instance, if I'm the judge and you're sitting there waiting for me to call your case, you're sitting there paying more attorney fees by the hour. And so some people can come out of there at between $1,900 to $2,300 for the entire day, and then you're not getting any justice, because what happens is your case gets adjourned. And so some of the problems that we're having is that our trial docket's been backed up. We're having more people have to wait on property cases, so there's 2 years, 3 years. Family law cases are not being heard immediately. Children are not being used as a priority, or not being treated as a priority. They should be. These are our children. We need to make sure that they are taken care of. They're not placed last. I've seen a lot of those issues. I also see that we always refer everything to the front of the court. I don't like that, because the fact of the matter is it costs more money for individuals to try their case in front of the court. And trust me, I know this because we start with early intervention. We don't need to refer everything to the court, especially like spousal support motions. Those should be heard right in front of a judge, because the judge, if you look at the court rules, the judge actually makes a decision on those spousal support factors. The front of the court can only give what is a recommendation. They cannot give the order or a ruling on that. So those need to be addressed immediately. So then that way they don't have to try it both times in front of the court and in front of myself. And we also need to make sure too with the child support, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but child support is the payee. So we have a payee and the payor. So the payor is the one who pays the child support, right? So if I'm paying child support, for instance, like if Dan and I were divorced, and we're not going to be there, everyone, but if him and I were divorced, I would pay him child support, or maybe he would pay me. I'll say he would pay me child support.
Yeah.
So Dan will pay me child support, but let's say that he overpays. A kid turns 18 or graduates from high school, and so he no longer has to pay that. What if he overpays me? They're not giving that money back. And so just like a business, you give that money back. Instead, the money, you have to go and ask me. And you think I'm going to give the money back, or someone else is going to give the money back? No, they're not doing that. So that's an issue that we have too as well.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Yeah. And it's sad because they just say, you know what, you'll have to ask the mother or you'll have to ask the father to get it back. And normally they don't give the money back. I've seen it several times. There's other issues that I see too that, I would like to make sure with sobriety court, because somebody's going to get a specialty court in this courtroom. And what I would like to have is a veterans court, because for years I have given my service to the veterans. In fact, Bobby Bright was one of my endorsers. I've helped several veterans with their liberties, their freedoms, whether it be criminal. I've gotten a couple of them their guns back. I've actually, legally of course.
I hope so.
Yeah, legally. And I've also made sure too that individuals didn't have a criminal record so they could stay in the military or stay in the National Guard. I've helped them with family law cases. In fact, one of the veterans actually flew a airplane with bombs on it in honor of myself. And I almost took a punch with two grandpas in the courtroom that day because they were arguing, and my guy was somewhere I was the only one that knew where he was. I couldn't go and disclose that. And he went and did that for me and gave me an American flag to place in there with a certificate. So I have that in my office. So I'm very honored to have that. And I've been honored to serve the veterans for years. Both my brothers, as I stated earlier, I'm a proud sister of both of them. The two older brothers were in the Army. Real quick story, I had an Army guy, a Marine, and I think Navy. in my office at the same time. I was coming out to go get the next person in the waiting room, and they're all arguing about what branch is better. And so I said to him, I go, I'm just going to settle this right now. All of you are important, and all of you I'm so grateful for, because they fought for our constitutional rights. So I've always fought for them. And so what I would like to do in Veterans Court is actually, Veterans Court is great. It's beneficial for them. But a lot of my guys had a hard time with PTSD because it's different transitioning from military to civilian life. And so we got to make sure that we have jobs provided. So I've talked to a lot of different people about trying to include this into our Veterans Court. So I'd like to see if we can try to do that and make sure that when they, because we're losing 22 veterans a day right now from suicide, and that's too many. We just gotta, if we could save one life, it would be worth it to do that.
Okay. So let's go back here to your talking about getting rid of cattle call, pulling cases away from front of the court and seeing them yourself. When you talk about, the way I understand it, is that the cattle call is the way it is because many cases settle, and it sort of encourages those cases to settle. From what I have been told by judges over the years, it has settling. They absolutely they rely on settling in order to keep the docket moving. So the cattle call is done in that way, knowing that a certain percentage of those things will settle. So if you have appointments for every one of them, would that not in actuality back up? Because more, obviously if you're doing it the way you want it, more people will go to court as opposed to settle, because they'll get an appointment, they'll know they get it, right?
Well, that's incorrect. So unless you know and you've been in a lawyer for 20 years and actually did trial experience, you would know that when you have 8:30 and 1 o'clock, they're not just, you don't throw the motions in there at 1 o'clock and 8:30. Yeah. Well, obviously not, because, the thing of it is motions take 3 hours to 5 hours, sometimes an evidentiary hearing, and those can take 2 days. So you have to make sure that you have that time aligned so that you're not going and adjourning it and piecemealing it. And what piecemealing is actually going and having a half a day for a hearing and then saying, oh, you know what, we're going to have to adjourn this because I have another thing that's coming in at 1:30. No, you don't do that, because when you go to different courts like I have, and you go and have the experience and actually see the 8:30, like if I want to schedule a motion, I say, all right, this is how much time I need. They'll give me the 2 hours or whatever I need, and I get it finished that time period. Now, what you're trying to say is what judges.
What I'm trying to say is what the judges have said. Because
No.
I'm not saying it.
No,
This
I
is what
understand
the
what you're
judges
saying.
have taught in my classroom, so that's why I'm saying it.
And that's the reason why we need to make changes, because the judges, a lot of the judges haven't been in trial court either. A lot of them have been appointed and they haven't had trial experience and they haven't litigated cases, and that's the reason why you want to make sure that whoever you hire for this position or elect this position needs to have the trial experience to know how long motions take, what is affordable how much time a person needs for a motion to be heard, and what is too much time. And that's where I come in and make sure that we're trying to go and make court more affordable. The 8:30 and the 1:30s do not
How many
work.
cases go in at 8:30 and how many go in at 1:30, you think?
8:30, between probably about, I would estimate maybe 8 to 10.
Okay.
I'm giving take on that one.
So
But
how much of that, how much
sometimes
between
there's
8:30
5.
and, so between 8:30 and noon, how long, so how much of that time would be on motions between, say, 8:30 and noon? Because they have other stuff to do, right? They have things that aren't motions.
Right.
Right,
So I'm not sure what your question is.
So if you have, say, 8, we'll just go on a low number here, 8 motions, could you do 8 full motions between, I thought I remember judges saying more than 8, but let's just stick with 8. Could you do 8 full motions plus do the rest of your docket in that morning, or
No.
is the cattle call, the purpose of the cattle call then to take, so you're saying how many if you did your way, how many would you do that day? 3, 4?
So The reason why, so 8:30s and 1:30s, they'll stack it up.
Yeah.
And that people don't settle their cases because they're motions and they're de novo hearings from the front of the court. So they actually have to go and try that in front of the judge. So they're not going to, a lot of them don't settle. I've never, I've had many cases that I haven't settled in court just because of the fact of the matter is you have that time prior to court to speak to the lawyer or try to settle the case. And every time that I've had to be in there, I was there at court, I actually sat there with my client. I don't charge them for that time period because their time period is in their retainer agreement. I don't think that's very fair because I grew up in Pinckney and your handshake is your handshake and your word is your word, but also you don't want to go and charge them because that's just not ethical in my opinion.
I agree. That's
So,
good of you to do that.
I mean, they're 8:30 and the 1 o'clock needs to go, but there is time periods that you can do the 8:30 and the 1, and that's for like pre-trials. If you're trying to go and do pre-trial statements, like you're seeing, and what that means, everyone, is that when you go in front of the person, go in front of the judge, they're asking how much time do you need for trial? How much time do you need for discovery? How much time do you need for, and so sometimes, we already have a scheduling order out there. And so scheduling orders should be in there, should be given to you immediately as soon as you file a case. And sometimes that doesn't happen. But I would like to make sure that that does happen because then they follow those guidelines. But also, if someone doesn't follow those guidelines, I want to make sure too that there's a penalization for that too as well. So you might not be able to have those witnesses there. You might not be able to have those exhibits entered. That will cut some of the time period away too. And the other thing that I would like to make sure too is that people bring a lot of frivolous suits to court.
Oh, amen to that.
And the problem is that a lot of judges are afraid to give out attorney fees.
Agreed.
And I stated this numerous times out to different people at the doors, and I want to make sure that everyone's clear on this. I'm not saying that if you file a motion, it's frivolous, but you got to know the law. And it's just like when I say to someone else, I wouldn't be able to do your job because I'd probably break the car, right? Because that's not my field of expertise. The other night I was putting up those signs, those driver signs, and I was pounding them. But I'll tell you what, I sure missed my husband that night, and I didn't break the signs though, so there you go, honey.
That's good news. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're talking frivolous laws because that's needed.
Well,
and I'm also glad that you're going to put attempts to shorten time. Are you allowed to do that, or is that something that you have to do in conjunction with the rest of the courts?
No,
is your docket your docket?
Your courtroom is your courtroom.
Oh, good. That's good
and
to
someone
know.
actually asked that. But going back to those the frivolous lawsuits, people are afraid to give attorney fees out. The judges are, and the reason why they're afraid, and I spoke to a couple of judges about this, is because they're afraid that they're not going to be appealed because there's too many factors that they have to go through. Now, I wrote that motion, and I'm very proud to say this. One of the judges thanked me for drafting up this motion because it has the entire law on it, that you go through the Woods case factors, and then you go to the Smith factors. And those factors are what tells you, like, the experience of the attorney, how much they're charging, what kind of case it was, how many years do they have in trial experience, what kind of frame of case is this, how much time do they have to do for this case. And all those, and then you have to go and show evidence of how those, how your attorney fees reflect the median in that area. So a lot of judges do not award attorney fees because of the fact that they're afraid to get appealed. And I'm not afraid to get appealed because I've actually done those motions, and Judge Lawless was one of the ones that said, wow, an attorney that actually places the law in her motion, and mind if I borrow this, Christina? I'd like to show all the other attorneys how to do this. I said, absolutely not. So I see my motion floating around all the time at court, so it's a compliment.
It is. That is a compliment. That's terrific. Well, anything, we're kind of running low here. Anything in particular else you want to leave us with?
I believe that I am the best qualified as a candidate. I have 20 years of experience. I also have the patience, but I also listen to people. And listening is a huge skill to have as a judge, and you want to make sure that you take the time for people, because both sides need to be heard and not interrupted. Obviously, there's time periods that you're going to have to, be law and order and, put the hammer down because of the fact it's getting too rambunctious. But I want to make sure that everyone knows that this is their courtroom. I'm here to serve you, and I would love if people came to me and asked me about my experience, or asked me about why I ruled on that situation, or why I did something. Because when I become judge, I want to make sure that I always serve you, because we want to place the people first, and that's always been what I've stated. Place the people first, and the people are first. The children are first, their families, the veterans, and whoever comes before me.
Well, that is, we're not gonna do any better than that. So the last two questions are same two questions I asked the first time, and that is, if you do not make it through one of either the primary or the thing, will you come back and take on Longsworth in 2 years?
Well,
is that a possibility?
I plan on finishing this race.
I understand. I ask a question.
And I'm not answering that question because I plan on finishing this and making sure that we win.
Okay, well then the next one won't play either. So all right, well then we're good. Thanks. We're gonna go to commercial, and thank you so much for coming, Christina. We have two great candidates from she had to smack me. All right, we had two great candidates. One left me with a bruise, but that's all right. We have two great candidates. Vote for one of them on Friday. Oh God, stop! On Friday, no, Tuesday. Yeah, Friday, do it too. Yeah, you can vote. I was right. You can vote Friday. You can do it tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Vote by Tuesday for one of those, for either Christopher Gandella or Christina Like.
Make sure though that you look at your precincts, because there's different times for each precinct.
Yes, I know. I thought it were all open till 8. Nope, not so. Those cheap people are making it at 10:30 and they're done. So, all right, we'll be right back to wrap up some stuff and to talk about some other stuff, and we still have chat with the chair, so stay around.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why? Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities. Join the fun. Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Except for one.
Hold on, I'm still talking to Christina. What now?
I said I didn't recognize other people.
No, they weren't anybody in particular.
Oh, okay.
No, just being stupid. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, oh, yes. See you later, guys. I forgot about that one. See you later, guys. Okay, here we are. Now, let me put the ringer back on in case anybody wishes to see. Look, remember I yelled at Dan earlier? He sent me a response. So, Marcy Griswetz, if you are looking, then I will be answering you later. So, let me turn my ringy-dinger-dinger back on, and let's see. So, now if you want to call in, that's great. And talk to me. But we were on school board, and that's where we were, and I could not be more excited about this. we've got 3 in Howell, 3 in Heartland. This is a great step toward getting conservative majorities. When people talk about partisanship and nonpartisan races, remember the nonpartisan part of it only means that's where it sits on the ballot. It doesn't mean you don't have political leanings, and it certainly doesn't mean your political leanings leave your head the minute you get elected in a nonpartisan race. So, I mean, look at Heartland is a dominantly liberal board, and there's fights there all the time, and craziness comes out of that place. The boys in the girls' bathrooms and the fights over that, and the boys in the girls' locker rooms and the fight over that, and the spending and everything else, the DEI, and the mistrust and the lack of transparency. And that's really heavy there. So I'm hoping with a conservative board and a new superintendent, I'm hoping Heartland can turn the page and stop being in the papers every week, stop being all over social media as having these issues. So good luck to Heartland. We're certainly going to do our part by helping 3 candidates. And, we're not looking to come in. We're not looking to hit a fly with a sledgehammer. We are, we're just looking to just have common sense, just have common sense. That's all. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to, to understand that, we're not looking to just hang people. We just want sanity back. We don't want craziness, and a lot of that stuff that's been coming out of there's been craziness, and we all know what that means. So, so I'm really excited. We have a less of a contested race, and like I said, the LCRP is going all out for 3, Courtney, Stephanie, and Brandon Bearfield, and then in Heartland we have Jeff Scott for the 2-year, which we're excited about because he's an incumbent. He's doing a bang-up job. And we have Alan Curtis, I believe. Hang on, let me look. I shall look it up before I say anything more. Crud. Al Curtis, I was right. Haha. So we have Jeff Scott, Al Curtis, and somebody I know. I'm drawing a blank. Help me. Who else is running in Heartland? Al Curtis. Somebody I know too, and I'm going to shoot myself. Oh, Luann Lathrop. Yay! I was really excited about her. So she's a hard worker. So these 3 we're going to get solidly behind in Heartland, and I believe, like I said, if we get 2 out of the 3, I'd really want to get all 3, but if we get 2 of 3, that makes a new majority. Then they can join our good friend Glenn Gogolewski, who likes Godfather references as much as I do. Glenn Gogolewski and Greg Keller they can join those 2 and really help put some sanity back. And I gotta hand it to to Greg and Glenn and Jeff for sticking it out, being on a school board in the minority. I've been in the legislature in a minority, and it's horrible. And a school board, it's even more focused on just you. So I really applaud you 3 for sticking it out and coming back. So we're going to work really, really hard to get another one. So anyway, another one in addition to Jeff. So that is that. So if anybody has any questions or anything they want to talk about, boy, what do you think of the podcast for those people who've seen who came? We hit a home run last week when we got both Perry Johnson and John James to come out here. I liked both men very much. I have things I liked about them and things that, maybe I thought needed work, but I mean, both of them, if either one of them, and I said this in an article I wrote, and it comes down to this. It's either one of them will do the most important thing that a conservative governor will do. And that is, the most important thing that they can do is sign Republican bills. Because that's not happening now. So if they sign, and both of them will do it, so I don't think it really matters I don't think it matters which one we get. They will sign those conservative bills. So when Representative Bolin or Representative Wolford or any of the other ones, they put forth these bills to put sanity back in Michigan. Either John James or either Governor James or Governor Johnson will sign them. So that's good news. That's the good news. The what is the most important, and if you read the Right Side News, and that would be therightside.news.com. If you read the Right Side News, I just recently wrote an article, and the article is called "Who Will Pull the Purple?" And that's the only thing that matters. And that's true. The purple being those swing voters we've talked about 100 times on this podcast, the swing voters in the middle. It doesn't matter which candidate you like. It doesn't matter who else is with that candidate. It doesn't matter what you like or what you think they can do. They can only do those things if they get elected. And electability is everything in these races. It's not just a part of it, it's everything. So what you need to do is look at those two, and I asked both of them the question on the podcast, so listen and compare their answers. But which one of them will pull more independents or swing voters away from Jocelyn Benson? So you have to kind of mentally line up Perry and mentally kind of line up John and say which one do you feel the middle of the road, centrist, swing voters, kind of middle class lots of times. Who will they identify with the best? So there's your answer right there. Whichever one you feel they will identify with, vote for. That's it. You can absolutely love the other one more. It won't matter. Just vote for the one that can get elected, because if not, then it doesn't matter. My ear is like falling down. It's making me crazy ears. Pardon me while I just jam it up there. Okay, good. So anyway, I read that. So that's therightside.news.com. Go there and kind of look through that before you make any decisions, because it won't tell you what to do. It'll just tell you kind of what to kind of consider in your list of considerations. Add this as a consideration. That's what basically this says. So that's that. But I am excited about the school board. I am excited about the both, and I'm excited that Tuesday means Tuesday. Come Tuesday, guys, we gotta get it together and just move forward. Boy, the tension's high and the accusations are flowing and the dirty politics are coming out, and man, that makes my blood boil. So you want to talk about somebody's record, or you want to talk about somebody's absentees, or you want to talk about whatever. I don't know, but there's professional actions and non-actions. But when we start slinging mud and taking personal shots, that in my opinion is over the top. So don't go there, people. Just don't go there, because it backfires. It really does. So just don't go there. I mean, talk about I've given enough campaign boot camps, and I'm just going to say it. The people that take my boot camp and follow the plan win. So I mean, we've got enough data to say that this belief works, and that is, tell people about you. Stop worrying about the other guy. They'll take, if you're the better candidate, talk about you. If you don't have qualifications, you're going to talk about them. So pay attention to that. I cannot tell that enough. I try to tell everybody that, and I don't know if everybody thinks I'm talking to somebody else, but I'm not. So do what you want to do, but when the results come in, that's just something you need to remember. So anyway, all right, we had two good judge things. They're both conservative. I feel like that is that's a big plus. So I mean, the fact that we have two in there, we haven't really had a lot of focus on that. So I'm really excited about coming up. So anyway, all right. Well, Tuesday night, I don't know if I'm doing a podcast watch, because it is election night. So I kind of thought maybe we have a watch party here. Maybe we do a watch party and a podcast. Maybe we do a watch party. Maybe we don't, and maybe we just have. But we are having our unity breakfast. So 9:00 here. Just show up. It won't be long. You just show up and kind of congratulate the winners, and the ones that won, get behind. The ones that didn't win, give them a hug and tell them, we're here for them the next time. So it is very important that we kind of stick together, so, because we don't really know what's going to happen. So anyway, anybody else got anything interesting that happened? So I'm looking at Dan's answer to my question. Nothing? All right, nothing's coming. Nobody's calling. Call if you want to say something or talk about something in particular. 517-819-1988. That's on the flyer. Give me a call. We can talk about anything online. We'll give that a minute or two, and if that's not, then everybody's tired and wants to go home, and that's okay too. But I think we had really good participation from both candidates tonight. Both of them had really good things to say. They're both very different in their experience, and they're very experienced, I guess we'll just say that. And that's okay. Different is not bad. They're just we've got good choices to make. So we got good people to choose from. I'm just glad there are conservatives, because it is not always the case that we have them. So sometimes, I remember times when, I still remember Tim Henzik, Jay's old law partner there, that told me a long time ago that sometimes you have to make a choice in life between the bite out of the rotten apple and the bite out of the rotten orange. And I love that statement and hated it at the same time, because he's right. And so there are times where we didn't have any other choices, any conservative choices, and that was the choice of the rotten apple or the rotten orange. So anyway, it is what it is. So so we will be doing an Adopt a Sign. We are doing an Adopt a Sign. You can go on the LCRP page for that. Adopt a Sign for Brian Ignatowski. We will be setting one up shortly for the school board candidates. I need to be able to breathe. My days are just minute to minute to minute. I bet I have 22 phone calls before 9 o'clock in the morning. So, and that's okay. I'm not complaining. If you have something to talk to me about, call. I'd rather you called me than have to clean up a mess because we didn't talk about it. So it's not a complaint. It's just saying that I probably won't get to the Adopt a Sign thing for the school board until after the primary. They don't have to run till the general. So right now, the situations that are on the primary have got my full attention. So anyway, well, seeing a lot of statements out there about how politics belong out of the judicial races and out of the school board races, but I got to tell you, 90% of those are from Democrats. They're not, Republicans aren't saying that at all. So I always just think, okay, I know where you fall, and if I'm wrong 1 out of 100, okay, then I'm wrong. So more often than not, that's an indicator. So what else? I guess that's it. So, all right, I'm going to call it. I think my phone's not ringing and my nobody's typing there. Everybody's tired. We're leading up to this. So I will watch for an announcement about next week's podcast. Like I said, if people want to have if you guys think a watch party here would be fun, we've got the big screen. We could do a potluck. We got the big screen where we can put results. If you guys want to do that, any candidates, if you want to have your watch party here, just let me know. We'll make sure we have something here. But again, remember, we're back here 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday morning. So, all right, I'm going to call it a night. Thanks so much for coming to watch these guys. It meant a lot to them that you were here supporting them. So, good night, and we'll look forward to seeing you here. Well, we'll look forward to talking to you in the next week sometime, or one way or another. Good night.